Yeah, buddy, it's your boys, Intoxicating Sports. I am your man, B-Team Brady Simpson. Back with another episode. I am with the one, the only, Jake Owens.
What's up, guys? Happy to be back.
Yeah, for sure. You can tell we're missing two of our members here. Well, three. We got Jake filling in this week. Our boy Adam Bowman not here. Hunter, Josias, not sitting in with us today. We're going to do a bit of a non-traditional episode. This is going to be NBA based.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking no NFL news. A lot's been happening.
Yeah.
Free agency, obviously. So we're going to wait. We haven't even, we haven't even recorded yet. I was really wanting to wait until Aaron Rodgers signed, and he just keeps fucking going and going and going.
He's one of the Steelers, so.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's my team. So we're obviously going to kill that as soon as this happens. But Jake, frequent NBA watcher, so we've got him on the pod for this. He's got a drunk draft win under his belt.
Yeah.
I believe it's sauces.
I'm 1 for 1, yeah.
Yeah. Sauces. And the only guest on our show to be up in units on community service.
Oh, okay.
Because you hit the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It
was plus money. I forget the exact number to make the playoffs.
Plus 160 or something like that.
And then you had another great one, which was Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, and you got it like mid-year or something, which was a great number looking at it.
I booked it the day after the Super Bowl in 2024.
Oh, shit.
So
okay.
I was like, they're already talking about a three-peat. They at least got there. They didn't win. I was a little bit disappointed on that. I was really hoping it would have been good money for them to win. So I got it like plus 750, but
dude, you would have been up hella units on our show.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But they got smacked. So good close bet.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. I've been trying to get on since like shortly after I was off last time to talk NBA stuff because shortly after last time the season was starting, and I was like, let me come on and do like a season preview.
Yep.
Obviously, during the football season, football dominates everything. Just part of the conversation that I want to start us off with. But yeah, so I'm happy to be back on. Talking something that's maybe a little bit more in my wheelhouse. I watch football, but not nearly as much as I watch basketball. So.
Yeah, like everyone has their NBA insiders. You're gonna be our NBA.
Yeah, I like that.
NBA frequent watcher.
I like that.
So, if you want to take it how you want to take it, we kind of start off in the general state of the NBA right now.
Yeah. So. I feel like the general state of the NBA, me coming on at this time is really speaking on kind of where the NBA is right now, because nobody really cares about the NBA until football season's over. And then even after football season's over, you have the combine, you have free agency, you have the draft, you have things like that people, until after April, when we're already in the NBA playoffs, people don't really pay that much attention to NBA ball. So the ratings of the NBA have been dropping. It's been something talked about a lot. You see it a lot online and in NBA circles and we'll say, NBA analysts and things like that. So the drop in ratings really started at the beginning of COVID. The 2019-2020 season, they declined a lot by like 500,000 a year. Less people are watching NBA ball. And the season's just too long. It's in the wrong time of the year. So a little NBA history for you. When they laid out when they wanted the season to start, it was to maneuver around baseball, which was the biggest sport at the time when the NBA was getting started. It's time for them to adjust and maneuver around football, because the season and how it shakes out just isn't. It's just not the best for ratings. The season starts at the end of October, and right then you're getting right into the heart of, you're smack dab in the middle of the NFL season. College football is bigger than it's ever been. So I got a little interesting thing that I've heard talked about on how to make this work and how to get the ratings where they are. Now, the NBA did just sign their biggest TV deal ever.
I saw.
11 years, $76 billion, so like $7 billion a year. and it actually hasn't even kicked in yet. It starts that contract starts next year.
I think that and then it's by like NBC and
It's
Amazon Prime
It's a lot.
and ESPN.
It's similar to how the NFL kind of just split up all of their stuff, and it is going to be harder to watch NBA games, similar to like it's harder to watch NFL games. You're going to have to go to Amazon. You're going to have to go to CBS and NBC and ESPN. You're going to have all these different things, which it's just the nature of kind of TV nowadays. But I've heard this interesting breakdown of the season. So right now the season's 82 games. Cut it down to 69 games. So that'll cut 13 games out of the season.
Did you just pick that number because like you like it?
That's like
or?
what's talked about.
Oh, all right. Okay.
69 games is what's 69 to 72, like somewhere in that range is what's talked about. 69 is a funny number, obviously. So, but start the season early December. So right after Thanksgiving. Credit, yes, you're still dealing with football, but the beginning of the NBA season, even with 69 games, you're not going to get people to watch it instead of football. But start it the weekend after Thanksgiving. Start the season there. Cutting the season shorter will be easier on the player bodies. You will have less guys sitting out, better quality games. That's like another thing that you hear about now is you could go to Cavs versus, well, not, we won't say Celtics because, those players will actually care about that game. But say Cavs versus Bulls or somebody like that. You're going to have Donovan Mitchell sitting out. You're going to have Mobley sitting out. You're going to have guys sitting out to rest their bodies, especially if it's on, the second night of a back-to-back or something like that. So cut the season shorter, start it later, and then still keep the in-season tournament. Right now, the in-season tournament is like kind of in that January, February range, I believe. Start it, do the actual tournament right after the Super Bowl. Give people an introduction to the NBA season. And I still like the in-season tournament. I think it's interesting way to keep the beginning of the season popular and mattering a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives the players an incentive to play a little more, play
money.
For your guy.
I think they get $500,000
who doesn't make that much money, which is awesome. That part of it wouldn't get me to watch it more.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. But it might get some people.
But the fact that it would make players play more or harder during that period of time throughout the middle of their season maybe makes that person watch because more people are playing.
So let me ask you, do you not watch the NBA because of the time of the year that it is, or because it's too many games? Like, is it hard for you, today's a Wednesday, is it hard for you on a Wednesday night to sit down in, let's say we're 2 months into the season and be like, this game really matters? Because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't. The game-to-game, for the most part, doesn't really matter. And I think that's maybe part of the issue. Do you think you would watch more if?
For me, maybe I would.
Okay.
I think for me right now, particularly, and I played basketball my entire life. Like, I was on the high school basketball team. Like, I love basketball, but it's hard for me to watch a game nowadays.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because on a Tuesday evening, I'm not looking to watch an NBA basketball game. I don't care if it's on at 7:30 or if it's on at 10:30, because they have a lot of good matchups, but like really late at night. I think that's an issue for East Coast people. But I don't know. I just, in my point in my life, it's either like your job or your girlfriend or wife or baby or something. It's all these things that I just don't care that much. I don't know.
Yeah. So back to the layout of the schedule. So the in-season tournament, start that right after the Super Bowl or the actual when they go to Vegas and do the final or finals of it. Have the playoffs start, because this is when the playoffs is when people really start to actually watch the NBA, because the NBA product in the playoffs is really good.
Yeah.
The players play hard. The refereeing is very different than it is at the beginning of the year. They're way more strict on fouls and things like that. During the season, it's very offensive friendly. They want the scores to be 130 to 125 or something like that, because the high scoring stuff is maybe what's going to keep people watching, and the constant action. So start the playoffs at the beginning of May. There's no reason the NBA shouldn't rule May, June, and July.
Absolutely.
It's just baseball. Baseball is the only thing that they're competing with during that time. So start the playoffs beginning of May, first half of May, say, and then the finals start 4th of July weekend and will go through, around the 20th of July, something like that. And then, bam, you have August, September, October, November-ish, because I guess they do training camp and preseason stuff starting in November. So the layout of the season is still the same amount of time off, just a different time frame you're covering during that section. And I think that the NBA, if they ruled the summer, the ratings would be way better. People would care. People would care a lot more.
I think it's a good idea because to me, and I think to most of our generation, baseball that season is the biggest dead time in sports of the year. So I am not against that proposal. I do kind of like it.
It's interesting. And there are starting to be, some thoughts on, we'll use the in-season tournament, for example. That was originally brought on to cut the season shorter to be something that made more money in a TV deal and made more money, say, I guess, the same amount of money as it would have been without that for the owners. And they were going to cut the season shorter. And then when the in-season tournament got approved, the owners were like, well, what if we just had the in-season tournament and an 82-game season and we didn't lose any money, we just made more money? So that the thought of the in-season tournament was to make the season shorter, but the owners got a little bit greedy and decided, well, what if we just had our cake and eat it too? So what could make the owners, because it really is going to come down to the owners, want to cut the season shorter? And there's starting to be rumblings of an alternate league. And I know that maybe sounds a little bit ridiculous when you think of the NFL or the MLB, NBA. An alternate league almost doesn't even sound like an alternate NFL league. I don't think it would even work. I'm not sure how it would work, but it's actually starting to really gain some traction with the NBA. And so Maverick Carter, who's LeBron's good friend, I think, from maybe high school, business partner, he has pulled together. It's Saudi backed, obviously, as most things like that are, but also other investors, co-founder of Skype, ex-Facebook executive, are guys that are putting money into this alternate league. Again, it seems far-fetched, but so did Live. You never really thought Live would be an actual thing, and when it started to become an actual thing, you were like, okay, well, I mean, they're not going to get the big-name golfers. And no, Rory didn't go and Scotty didn't go, but Jeff Rahm at the time was probably the best golfer in the world.
John Rahm,
Or John Rahm, he was probably the best golfer in the world. Phil went there. They made an offer to Tiger, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka. Those are all big-name guys that legit went there. Saudi Soccer League, the same thing. Neymar went, Ronaldo went. Other big name guys went and played in the Saudi Soccer League. So just a hypothetical. What if the Saudi in 2026, when Luka's contract was up, they offered him $100 million a year to play in this alternate league? I think he would say yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
it maybe sounds
comparisons to like the other leagues, like soccer.
Yeah.
Completely reasonable to me because soccer has like 1 million leagues. I don't follow soccer, but I just know they got a shit ton of leagues. So that is completely feasible to me. Definitely surprised when Live became real.
Yeah.
And then they started throwing out like 9 figures to all these people. And obviously, like, man, if you're throwing 9 figures, you're going to take it. There's a rare few that don't have to, like Tiger. But, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. It seems crazy to me right now that the NBA, which has so much history, they'd have this alternate league.
So that's actually how the NBA started when there was the NBA and then there was the ABA.
Yeah.
And then they joined together to just be the NBA. But it was, two different leagues, and then one league just got bigger than the other one and ate the other one. So this alternate league,
Go ahead. Sorry.
So this alternate league, it's not going to be set up like the NBA. It's going to be very different. And one thing I was comparing the NBA to the NFL and the MLB. MLB is maybe a little bit different, but the NFL, it's not really a global sport. It's big. It's
trying
huge.
To make it.
They're trying to. They're
trying
trying
to play games in different countries here and there.
But it's just big. They play the London game. They play a Germany game. They do a Mexico City game now. The NBA is truly a global sport. The NBA is huge all over the world. It's bigger than the NFL is all over the world. There's real NBA stuff in Asia and Europe, Africa, places like that. So there's want for top level NBA talent to play in places like that. So this alternate league is going to be set up, or would be, I guess, set up similar to an F1 schedule, a Formula One schedule, where it's almost like a traveling circus. They pop up in your city. They're there for 2 weeks. The thought is to have 6 men teams and 6 women's teams, and they're there in your city for 2 weeks. They play X amount of games in your city, but they're going to places like Singapore. They're going probably in Saudi Arabia. They're popping up in London. They're popping up in the biggest cities in the world for 2 weeks. And people are probably traveling to those cities to see it. Very similar, very, very similar to how the F1 schedule is. I think that could work. I think that layout of an actual league could legit work.
Like, would they be able to fill out the entire roster on all these teams?
So that
think about your backup bench players. Like, how much money are you actually going to give that guy? Like just some random dude to sit the bench.
So that would be the thing. That would be the entire filling out the entire roster with big name guys would be tough. But also the Live Tour has a bunch of guys that you've never heard of. It's very top heavy with, we'll say 10 golfers that are relatively big names. But can you name?
Yeah, because that's the different thing about that too, is because that's a one-man sport. It's you versus everyone else, and not a 15-man roster. Which maybe these games, they probably make
9 or 10 people, something like that.
And they'd probably make the games a little shorter. I don't know, just based on this thing you came up with, but
and it would take time, but we'll use Cooper Flagg as an example. Cooper Flagg, you're gonna come out of Duke, and you have to sign a 5-year contract. You're gonna be with this team for 5 years, and the money is not a lot of money. Well, I mean, it's a lot of money, but like $80-90 million, something like that. And even then, that team that drafts you can offer you way more money than any other team can. So really, you're kind of tied down to one team for 8 or 9 years. What if we offer you $30 million a year to not go to the NBA, to join this league, still show off your talent, and if Cooper Flagg decides in 3 or 4 years, I think I want to go to the NBA. Teams would take him. If he's a good basketball talent, teams are going to take him.
Yes, 100%.
But he just made $200 million in 4 years, we'll say, to go and play overseas. It would be guys coming out. It would be a slow burn, but
there's
something to it.
That's the thing with everything, that there is always a number that will get you to do something.
Yeah.
So if they are able to throw around so much cash, then people would do it. It's the internal thing for each player would be like, if I do this, then my name in the NBA record books won't be there.
Right.
It's non-existent. I don't really have a place in this historic NBA league.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to think about how good am I? Does it really matter to me as much if I am in the NBA, making a name for myself, as history? Or am I just kind of average and I can make a shit ton of money playing?
Middle of the road guy that makes, and the NBA players make really good money now, but middle of the road guy that makes $8 million a year, this Saudi league could pay me $15 million a year. That's double. Yeah. And I'm a nothing in the NBA. I'm the 9th man on the team making $6 to $8 million a year. I could go to this Saudi league and be the 6th man on the team and make $15 million a year and set my, I don't have to do it for 20 years, but what if I did it for 6 years? Or something like that. Then, I come back to the NBA and the money's a lot different. And it's just interesting. It's interesting to think about. And I think that as it starts to become a real thing, it will get owners, you'll see somebody big. If it becomes a real thing, somebody big, we'll say a top 20 player, will go. They're going to offer somebody $100 million, $150 million a year, and somebody like a Luka is going to go. Somebody that has no ties to the NBA. The Mavs just traded him and said that he was fat and out of shape and lazy, drank too much beer, didn't eat good.
Luka could come on the pod.
Things like that. Yeah, right. He has no ties to the NBA. Why wouldn't he just be like, yeah, fuck you guys. Like, I'm going to go make $150 million a year. I'm going to live in Slovenia or wherever he's from.
I do think the
foreign guys,
foreign players would be more likely to do it.
Yeah.
So like Jokic, who
does not care about,
who doesn't care that much about the NBA. He does it for the money, and he's already in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So for that guy, it would make a ton of sense.
It's interesting.
Those types of players, if they already have a name for themselves, they've won a championship. Like older players, they would have a great case to then go that route. And then, you talk about like a person that would be so interesting is what if they just what if it started next year and they approached Bronny and they were like, okay, listen, we've seen Bronny progress as he gets healthier and playing more. But if I'm being real, like I don't see him being a star at all ever in his career. But if they offer him a shit ton of money to go to this league and that brings in people to watch him play, that sounds like a good deal to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna happen to some guys if it does become a real thing, and I think that could make the owners start to shift towards. We've been really greedy for a long time. Let's kind of put it back in the hands of the players. Let's cut the season down. Let's put it in a different time of year where we can get the ratings up. Things like that. They just signed a new TV deal, so kind of manipulating the schedule. Now's as good of time as any to kind of do it, but I don't want to hang up on that I guess talking point too much because it's just a little thing to throw out there, but interesting.
Though. That's fun stuff.
Something is interesting.
That was the first time I've ever heard that idea. Is when you just told me today, so that's fun.
It's neat. So, okay, so getting into the actual season, I don't know. There's 10 games left in the season. The playoffs start. I think April 19th.
Couple weeks.
I think is the first.
Few weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. So the season's right around the corner. We're closing out the year. I've put together. We're gonna break down. We're going to try to do every team in the league, all 30 teams.
Let's go.
We're going to start with the West. We're going to go with the 1 seed, and we're going to work our way down. And so the West is deep. The West is definitely deeper than the East. The number 2 spot in the league or in the West is wide open. There's probably 6 or 7 different teams out of the 8 playoff teams, 8 teams that will actually make the playoffs, not including the play-in tournament that they now do. There's 6 to 7 teams that have a real chance, I think, to make the Western Conference Finals.
Wow, 6 or 7.
Yeah, we're gonna start with the clear number 1 team, who I think's been easily the best team in the league all year, has MVP favored on their team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've been unreal this year. They're so much fun to watch. I don't know if you've watched too much of them, but SGA is so good. And I know that the argument right now is him or Jokic. Jokic is definitely having the better all-around season, but SGA has been unreal, averaging 33 a game. And he's really taken off to be easily a top 5 player in the league, probably 2, just right behind Jokic.
Yeah, just go look at the MVP odds He's minus 2,000 to
Is
win
he-
it,
is he now?
SGA.
Yeah.
So he's going to win it.
Yeah. Yeah,
People I have seen talking about how Jokic has had a better year. He has had an incredible year, maybe like his best.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's
ever?
his best. It's his best year for sure.
It's just, and that's the history of the league. If you can't give the MVP to like the same player every single year, even if they're the best player in the league every single year.
Yeah.
SU's having an incredible year. I think their team is built very nicely. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's their team chemistry, how deep they are. They've done a true rebuild through the draft. It's funny to look at the trade now. They had Paul George, and how they got SGA.
What a steal!
It was SGA and like 2 other players, and then like 4 first-round picks for Paul George. And now, I mean, you wouldn't even do SGA for. I mean, you definitely wouldn't do SGA or for Paul George, just straight up. But yeah, what an absolute steal. Him developing into the guy that they are, or that he is.
I'm not sure as a player in the league you would just trade him straight up for.
Probably not.
Why
Wemby.
not? Yeah, maybe
Wemby. Wemby would maybe be the only player.
Maybe
'cause
injuries,
he's still young.
concerns.
Yeah.
Like.
But one thing about OKC is their team chemistry is really good. They're all younger guys. It seems like a really cool team to play on. Have you seen any other like post game interview stuff that they do?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
I just watched the other night. I was clicking on NBA Countdown. They were doing a whole bit on it, and they interviewed SGA.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So Jalen Williams is really good. Chet is really good. Their bench is extremely deep. They have their 1 through 1, 2, and 3 guys. SGA, Jalen Williams, and Chet are all guys that I could easily see being on championship teams. SGA can definitely lead as a number 1, lead a team to a championship. Jalen Williams is a great guy to kind of fill in, and then Chet's been really good too. In the time that he's played, he's been hurt a little bit of the year, but he's been good. The only thing that kind of hangs me up on them is limited playoff experience. They're relatively young. They played some playoff games last year, and I don't even think they made it. They didn't even make it to the Western Finals last year, but so they definitely got bounced earlier than expected last year. But this year they're on a totally different level than they are last year. So they're pretty much a lock for me to at least make the Western Conference Finals. If they don't, something has gone terribly wrong. They've choked the games away. Somebody's gotten hurt, something like that. So OKC is clearly, easily the best team, far and above the number 2 team, who is the Houston Rockets.
So weird.
Actually, a really big surprise that the Rockets are there. 15th on offense, 3rd on defense. So they're definitely a defensive heavy team.
Yeah.
Ime Udoka, he was the Celtics coach a couple years ago. Got kind of caught up in a little bit of a scandal, and then took a year off and then went to the Rockets. But he's a great coach.
Yeah, what a bounce back by Ime Udoka.
He's an unreal coach. So their defensive mindset is great. Another team that's very, very young. They have a really deep rotation. Jalen Green is their high draft pick, and he's maybe the 3rd best guy on the team. Şengün is really good. Amen Thompson is a freak. That's a name you'll be hearing a lot more of in the next couple of years. He legit looks like Kawhi Leonard. It's very similar.
I like him. I like his brother too, the Thompson bros. I like him.
Yep. G League guy, so you didn't really ever see him playing in college and different things like that. So, but they're young. Similar to OKC, they have limited playoff experience. I think them making a run to the Western Conference Finals is maybe a little bit of a stretch. They definitely have the talent and the depth. Obviously, they have the coaching. But 15th on offense, I think that they'll struggle in the playoffs a little bit.
I think it's a long stretch for them to make a run.
Yeah.
They're built defensively.
Yeah.
I think they're top 5 in points per game allowed. But that's one thing that I cited that I just don't believe in them, is that they've got no playoff experience from their top guys. Like, you've got Van Vliet on your team, who obviously won a title, but he's not their guy.
No.
They don't have guys that are experienced. I'm looking at like a first round exit out of them. I have a good. I depending on who they play, I'd probably bet against them.
So right now they would be slated, if everything stayed the same, to go up against the Clippers, and we'll get to the Clippers.
Okay.
But I could see that. I could see a first round exit. Maybe not similar to what OKC did last year, but maybe OKC from 2 years ago. They're definitely achieving 46 and 26. They're definitely overachieving with their record.
Super surprising. Didn't expect this out of them.
Yeah. I'm sure when you looked at the stands, you were like, "What the hell, the Rockets? How the fuck?" Like,
I kept hearing them all year. Like they're talking about, are they the real deal? I was like, without paying attention, no, they're not the real deal.
Yeah.
Even, I'm still saying that. I just don't believe in them yet. It's another thing where it's the Cleveland Cavaliers are too young right now, or the OKC's too young right now. Like, give them a couple years. Let's see if they're about it.
This team is definitely too young, I think.
Yes, and what bothers me is that I don't think they have an actual star.
No. So, be on the lookout. I do think that they'll make some moves this year. And a big name that you're going to hear, that you heard during the trade deadline, that you're going to hear going to this team, and I actually think he will get traded to this team, is Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, I think he's definitely done, and we'll get to the Suns, but after this year, he's done with the Suns, I think. He'll go on to play for his fifth team, which seems kind of crazy. What a kind of crazy career he's had. But I think that they are a real team that could make a run at an unhappy star. They have the depth, they have the young pieces, they have the picks to go after a guy like that. So.
Yeah, and that would be the piece to do it, man. You already built defensively, and KD is, at his age, still looks like top 3 scorer in the league. Like, he's able to score, man.
Not for 82 games probably, but kind of ramping up this time of year. You're seeing it right now. He's scored a couple 40-point games in the last week or so. He would be an interesting piece for them. So the next team is the Nuggets. The Nuggets are 45 and 28, the 4th best offense and the 23rd best defense. So they are quite the opposite of the Rockets. They are very offense heavy. We talked about Jokic already. He's having definitely his best season ever. Honestly, one of the best seasons ever just in general from an individual player. Yeah. He's unreal. He is really unreal.
Yeah, I heard someone say the other day, it's like you can just pencil him in for a 30-point triple-double.
Pretty much.
And I'm like, that's crazy, dude.
It's wild.
Holy shit.
It's wild. And the team themselves, they really struggle when he's not on the floor. So he has to carry a really big load, and I think that is going to wear him down. But he's like one of those guys where it's like you almost can't bet against him. If they made it to the Western Conference Finals, I really wouldn't be surprised because of how good he is. He's similar, LeBron circa 2010, 2000, with the Miami Heat years, LeBron when the Cavs didn't have a ton of help, but maybe some help. You can almost kind of pencil him in to play well in the playoffs, as long as his team is okay. It's
going to be a team that I'm going to have trouble betting against. I think Denver, when they're healthy, has the best starting 5 in the West. I really like their lineup.
Yeah.
But I just feel like they're not deep.
No.
It's like 5 plus Russ and like someone else.
They lost some guys. KCP left. And they lost some other bench pieces that are really needed, and I think that they maybe thought that they could get it done with the pieces that they have, but with Jamal Murray being as inconsistent as he is, Michael Porter Jr. being as inconsistent as he is, I think that they're starting to realize you have to have, especially in today's NBA, you have to have a deep bench. You have to have 8, if not 9 or 10 guys, especially throughout the season to make a real run.
Yeah, I mean, when you hit the playoffs, you don't necessarily need to be playing 10 dudes, but, I mean, how about 8?
Yeah,
I just don't think they have.
No. They don't have 8 guys that they could trust.
And that's tough because then you're going to need your starting 5 to play collectively great team basketball, or Jokic needs to completely take over one game, then Murray the next game. They've done it before, but last year we saw they fell short.
Yeah. So these are still teams that I could see making the Western Conference Finals. Obviously depending on if the Nuggets have to play OKC before the Western Conference Finals. Depending on how the seeding shakes out, obviously, that's dead in the water. But if they're on the other side of the bracket from them, I could see them making it. So similar to the Rockets and similar to the next team in line.
It's real quick before you do that. It's a team that I can definitely see beating OKC. I would say OKC and Denver, the teams we've talked about in the West so far, are my top 2 contenders.
Okay.
One other thing about Michael Porter Jr., I really like him.
Do you?
Yes. I've always thought that he would be a fantastic NBA player. He didn't get a lot of playing time in college because I think it was a back injury.
He was dealing with back stuff.
But I remember sitting in my college house on campus when he got drafted and I saw at the bottom of the screen. I was like, dude, that's a steal for the Nuggets. If he got traded to the right team or a different team, just because on the team he's on, Murray, Jokic, Aaron Gordon, those are all top-tier guys that are being used. I feel like he could average like 28 points a game on a team.
And there's a chance he could be moved this offseason. He was another name kind of during the trade deadline and after last year that was maybe talked about as someone possible to move. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got traded. I just don't know who would trade for him or what kind of haul you would even be able to get for him. We'll just use someone like the Rockets, for example. The young guys on the Rockets don't really fit their timeline. So he would have to be traded for somebody that can come in right away and play.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe a Devin Booker wants to leave the Suns if Kevin Durant gets traded. You can maybe put a package together. I don't off the top of my head know what the Nuggets picks look like, but somebody like that, somebody that can come in and help win right away. But I think he's probably there for a couple of years. So the next team and the last team that I've have in say my tier 2 is the Lakers. The Lakers 12th on offense, 13th on defense. So they're not at the top at either, but they're pretty consistent. Obviously, they traded for Luka this year, so yeah. Luka took the Mavericks to the finals last year with almost. I mean, he had Kyrie, but that was pretty much it. So there's no reason to think that him and LeBron can't get it done.
Yeah, and when Luka first got to the team, looked slow. Looked just getting
fat and
back
out of
healthy
shape, like he's had too much beer.
He had a few beers before the game or something. But he looks fantastic now. When LeBron plays, because he's been hurt as well, they look good defensively. I think offensively they'll be a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Because Luka or LeBron, which one are you doubling? Which one are you guarding? There's going to be open shooters everywhere. I seriously think it's a problem. That's the other team that I can see winning the West. Lakers could also be the most volatile team.
Yeah.
Like, they could lose the first round or they could win the entire thing.
Right.
I am a LeBron fan. I'm hoping that he can push and get another one. Is that a cat?
It's something clawing at the door.
Were there cats in here?
No. Unless they can get through there.
No. Maybe one out front and it went to the back. Now it's clawing at the back.
Until you open it up and it's a raccoon or something.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it shut. Sorry, go ahead. But the Lakers, yeah.
Yeah. So, and Austin Reeves, since LeBron is out, Austin Reeves is unreal. For an undrafted player, he's been great. He's a legit number 3, probably the top 5 number 3 in the NBA. But they just have a lack of real proven depth. Outside of those 3 guys, it's a big drop off to the next guys. Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes, guys like that. I think that those type of guys might struggle in the playoffs. Not reliable. But when you play with Luka and LeBron, those they just make everybody else better. Other than Jokic, those are the 2 best guys to kind of make the rest of the team around them the best players that they can be.
Luka just made it to the finals with Kyrie and the team.
Right.
The supporting cast he had, this supporting cast is better than that.
Better, yeah.
And you have LeBron, who is one of the best teammates of all time.
Yeah.
So
no reliable center is kind of the other thing for them. and big picture wise, Luka really saved the Lakers franchise just in general. Like, things were looking kind of bleak for the Lakers. It was like, okay, LeBron's going to retire in a couple years. AD's 31. He's always hurt. Like, he's not a guy that can take you to the playoffs. And then Luka out of nowhere. What a shot of adrenaline for just the franchise in general, even past this year. If this year isn't the year, I think they pick up some sort of center in the offseason. Somebody that's reliable, Jonas Valanciunas type center.
Yeah.
Nick Claxton maybe for the Nets. Somebody like that can come in and actually play center. But Jackson Hayes hasn't been bad. Luka's been making him look pretty good. So from here, and I know that they have the same record as the Lakers, but I think that there's a pretty big drop off. From let's say tier 2 to what would be tier 3, and the next team is the Grizzlies.
All right, just real quick. So, are you putting Houston in tier 1?
Yes.
Would you give Houston
tier 2? I have OKC in tier 1, kind of all by themselves.
Got it.
But the next tier, I would say are teams that I think could make the Western Conference Finals. I have tier 3 here as teams that can maybe make the finals if all things go right.
Okay.
All things got to go right for these teams.
I'm going to reference sportsbook odds real quick, because you see the 2 seed right now is Houston Rockets, like we said. They're 220 to 1 to win the title.
Really?
220 to 1. The Lakers are 18 to 1.
Yeah.
It's a complete difference.
Yeah, that's
which,
crazy.
betting-wise, sad to say it, but I agree with that. I mean, I don't think the Rockets are winning the title.
I think ultimately what will happen to the Rockets, because I do think that they could win in the first round against one of these kind of next tier teams.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll see something in this next tier that kind of all things have to go right for these next teams, for this next group of teams.
Yeah.
The Rockets are deep enough, and I think that their young bodies will be able to maybe propel them to at least the second round. They could run into the Nuggets or the Lakers. I'm not saying the Rockets are gonna make the Western Conference Finals,
I know.
but I definitely think that they have a real chance, just kind of based off the seed that they're in. This next group of teams are teams that obviously they're going to be in the playoffs, so they could make the finals. But I think that all things have to kind of go right for these teams. The next team is the Memphis Grizzlies. 6 on offense, 11 on defense. But they're a really hard team to read.
Bro, the first thing I wrote down for this is they're weird to me.
They're weird. They're a weird team. Ja hasn't played consistently this year. He's in and out of the lineup for whatever reason. He's 25, so if it's we have to rest his legs for a playoff run, it's like, why are his legs so tired? He's 25. He should be able to go. Anthony Edwards is a perfect comp for that. Anthony Edwards plays every single night.
Yeah.
If he's missing a game, it's because he's truly hurt.
Got that Jordan in him.
You'll pull up the Grizzlies, and it'll be their first game in 2 days, and you're like, why isn't Ja playing? Out of nowhere. It's very strange, and it makes me wonder: can he play for 4 straight rounds? Can he be consistent enough? And do they have the team chemistry to really be able to make a real run in the playoffs? Yeah, maybe he's a good enough player to where if all things are going right, they can maybe do it. But the team kind of drops off after that. Jaren Jackson is a really good player. He's a great defensive anchor. But then it's kind of where do you go from there? 2 guys with a pretty limited bench. Desmond Bane is good, but he's not great. He's not I don't think a number 3 on a championship winning team.
No, I just think he's a good piece. He shoots well.
Yeah.
He's strong.
They're really he's big as fuck. He's built.
Dude's huge.
Yeah, they just have a weird team, and I don't understand them really.
I just think they're weird, and I think sometimes they play better without Ja.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
They have a winning record without him,
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of true. And all in all, I just reciprocate everything you just said, and that I don't think they're a good enough team to make a push. They are on that outside tier. They're not a contender for me.
I just don't think they have the depth to
Bro.
make a run this year. They played a lot of young guys last year when Ja was out for pretty much the whole year. And I think some of those young guys are promising. I think that they just need to develop a little bit. I could see them winning in the first round, getting eliminated in the second round, but to make a real run to the conference finals would be a surprise. All things would have to go really right for them.
Ever since Ja was flashing those guns around, man, his career's been going down.
It's kind of crazy because he was really looking promising there for a minute.
Hopefully it's one of those things where this is his get back year. He's getting back into things, and next year he starts playing every game.
Hopefully,
and their team is where their standard should have been.
And maybe that's part of it. Maybe they know we don't have the team to make a real run this year. Let's keep Ja's legs fresh. Let's try to avoid injury. Bring him back. Start ramping him up before the playoffs. And if we can make something happen in the playoffs, great. If not, we come back next year. Everybody's healthy. Team's a little bit more experienced, things like that. So it'll be interesting. I don't think that they have a real chance to make a deep run.
You know when you watch college players and you're like, oh, he'll never work out in the NBA.
Yeah.
I've been like completely right about people and I've been completely wrong about people. I was wrong about Zach Edey. I just for some reason thought he would never do anything in the NBA and he'd probably like go play in a European league or something like that. But I mean, he gets minutes and he puts up decent numbers and he's worked out all right.
So if you watch them, when he comes in, they run packages through him. They run the offense through him, and he's kind of a guy that you kind of have to, because he's not good enough around the perimeter or anything like that to kind of make his own offense. But when he comes in, they legit run plays for him, and he posts guys up. He's a big guy.
Yeah, he's huge.
And there's not a lot of centers in the league that are as big as him that can really put up a fight against him. So, yeah, I didn't think he was going to be great.
Yeah.
And I guess he's not great, but he's a fine piece.
Backup center?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a fine piece. So, the next team I have is the Warriors, 41-30. I have them here in Tier 3. 17th on offense, 7th on defense. Draymond Green is currently like a top 3 defensive player of the year odds-wise.
He is a favorite on FanDuel right now.
Is he? He's the favorite on FanDuel?
I think it was minus 105 when I looked earlier. Evan Mobley's right behind him.
They traded for Jimmy Butler in the middle of the year, which I couldn't tell right away if it was a good trade. I kind of felt like maybe Jimmy's time had come and gone.
Yeah.
But he's really like filled in that like Iguodala 2014, 2015, 2016 role where he's a good defensive player. Is he gonna get you consistently 30 to 35 a night like Steph is? No, probably not. But he can get you. He can pop off in a game. There will definitely be a playoff game where he and Steph will both have 30 or something like that. And they're an interesting team just because of how much experience they have. And Steph is still at the level where he can lead a team to some playoff victories. So they're another team that's maybe a little bit weird. Again, I have them here in this tier where kind of all things have to go right. They're well coached. They have legit good elite level players. Good defense, decent depth.
Fantastic coach.
Yeah, great coach. So I'm interested actually to see kind of where they go. It's going to matter a little bit kind of who they match up with in the first round. Imagine being the Lakers and pulling the Warriors as your first round matchup. Whoever they get.
See, if I'm the Lakers, I take the Lakers in that, just like that.
Yeah, I would take the Lakers in that. But they're going to be a bitch for whoever they have to play. They're going to.
I was surprised that Jimmy Butler had that sort of impact on the team in general, like just because there's games where he puts up like single digits.
Yeah.
But there's an occasional game where he'll go off, like you said. Like Jimmy Butler will be Jimmy Butler. That's what he's been
Playoff
doing
Jimmy.
Past couple years. Like he has games where he doesn't contribute and then games where he goes off.
A couple years ago, he led the Heat to the finals, and they didn't really have that many great pieces on their team. He's definitely a different animal in the playoffs. I'm interested to see if he can get to that level again. That's part of the all things have to go right.
Yeah.
Things could, if he starts playing at a playoff Jimmy quote unquote level, that's things going right, and they could be a real bitch to play.
And he's just kind of like giving everyone on the team hope.
Yeah.
Like Draymond's like back into it.
Yep.
He's playing really good defense. I think he frees up Steph more.
Kind of was seeming like their window was starting to close a little bit, and I wasn't 100% sure again if the Jimmy trade was gonna revitalize them, but it seems that it has. So they're playing pretty good basketball right now. So I'm interested to see their little playoff run here. So the next team is kind of a similar team that they are starting to maybe pick it up a little bit and put things together. The Clippers, 40-31. 18th on offense, 4th on defense. Kawhi has been really inconsistent all year. He's similar to Ja, where it's like you could turn on the game and you're like, why the hell isn't Kawhi playing tonight? Like,
yeah, that's his story for the third, fourth year in a row.
Yeah, probably maybe even longer than that, honestly.
Yeah.
But he started to play. They've won 8 of their last 10. They beat the Cavs pretty handily during that time when the Cavs were on their streak. I don't know if they ended the streak or if the Cavs ended up losing like 3 or 4 in a row. I don't know if they were one of those teams or if they ended the streak, but they beat the Cavs recently. Harden is playing really well. Kind of the stars are starting to line a little bit. Norman Powell is a solid player on their team. Ultimately, I don't think that they have the depth to make a real run. Kawhi and Harden are both old. I think Harden's 38, 37,
He's
something
old.
like that. And it's kind of like Tom Brady is doing to the NFL, where you think like Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins, these quarterbacks can still be good, like late 30s, in their 40s. LeBron has kind of like made people think that it's normal for an NBA player to get into their late 30s and 40s and still play at a really high level.
Yeah.
Harden is up there. He could drop off any year. So
shout out to him though for a good year. He has had a surprisingly
He's had a
good
good
year and carried them this far with Kawhi being out a lot. I wouldn't even look at their depth. I'll just say flatly I don't think they're good enough to win the West. And there is going to be a playoff game where Kawhi doesn't play.
Probably.
So that's that
Probably.
too. They're going to be missing a player at some point.
Yeah. But they're another team where I'm like, man, it would be tough to be the 2 or 3 seed and then have to draw the Clippers. They have a real home court advantage. I don't know if you've seen much of their new stadium, the Intuit Dome, or their new arena.
Really.
It is a legit home court advantage. There's only a handful of them in the NBA. The stadium is beautiful. It's unreal. It's like we're starting to see like the next level of arenas. So they have a real home court advantage. They have a championship winning coach. Ty Lue is their coach still. So they're well coached. They're definitely a team where it's like, damn, I would hate to be a 2 or 3 seed and have to draw the Clippers, because maybe they're not going to beat you, but they're going to put up a fight. You're going to go to 6 games. You're going to go to 7 games. It's not going to be like in the East, the 2 and 3 seeds in the East. They'll probably sweep their teams if not beat them in 5 games. So the next team we have up here, and they're tied, I guess, record-wise or games back with the Clippers, at least when I was putting this together, is the Timberwolves. Timberwolves, 11th on offense, 6 on defense, 41-32. Still here in this tier 3 for me. Ant didn't take quite the step that I was expecting him to take. Before the year started, I placed a nice bet on Ant MVP because I was looking a lot into him being on Team USA, not playing the dominant role on the team, similar to maybe a LeBron or D Wade played in those early Olympics. I'm trying to think of when the Olympics laid out, 2006, 2008 range. The Olympic team this year was dominated by the older guys, LeBron, KD, Curry, and Ant got his time. But I thought that him working with LeBron and seeing LeBron and KD and Curry for weeks at a time, playing with them during the summer, that he was going to really take a level up this year, and he really hasn't.
Overall, yeah, I agree with. It's a good projection that a fair projection that a lot of people probably has that he's gonna take that next step this year. He's gonna be in conversation of MVP. The one thing he did do though, have you seen his 3-point stats?
Yeah,
I mean, he's averaging the most threes per game that he ever has in his 5-year career, and doing it at a career percentage, about 40%.
Yeah, and he's taken, I think, over 10 a game.
I didn't expect his shooting to be that good. So that's one thing I guess he probably worked on in the offseason.
Yeah.
But, dude, I hated the Cat trade for Minnesota.
Yeah.
I absolutely hated it. I thought Cat was a great piece to that team. Never liked Randall. So when that came in, I think they got DiVincenzo as well, which I just he's a piece player.
Fun bench role player.
I just think that trade made them worse. So that's kind of be a tough hiccup.
I think the big thing with that trade was kind of getting off the Towns money while also having Gobert on the team. Obviously, the market for Towns is a lot bigger than the market for Gobert, and they gave up a lot to get Gobert. So
yes, like 5 firsts or something.
Their defense last year was kind of their identity, and Ant is still, when he wants to, when and you'll see it in playoff games, the final 5 minutes of a game, we'll say a game 6, game 7, when it really matters. He's probably the best defensive player in the league when he really, really wants to be. When you see him really lock in, just because of how athletic he is, how quick he is, and he actually cares on the defensive end. Unlike a lot of stars similar to him, like a Ja, younger stars like that. You typically don't see him being a dog on offense and defense. He really, when he wants to, he can lock in on defense. Randall started the year not great. And even I think he's was saying in some interviews and press conferences like that, he knew he started the year not great. He started to pick it up a little bit. He started to kind of understand what his role on the team is and what they need him to do. He's becoming more of a facilitator. You forget that he was an all-star level, all-NBA player for a year when he was on the Knicks. He had a year on the Knicks where he was really, really good. And if he can kind of start to come back to that, he's definitely fits with Gobert better than if he's playing at his highest level and Towns is playing at his highest level. Towns is definitely better. But Towns at his highest level doesn't mix well with Gobert, to where Randall, I think, mixes a lot better with Gobert. So you kind of make the trade in hopes that Randall can get back to playing at a high level. And I wouldn't say he's playing the best ball that he's ever played, but he's playing a lot better than he was at the beginning of the year.
Feels like they made a bad trade move to try and make up for a bad trade move.
Yeah, a little bit.
With Gobert back in the day. So it's kind of weird, but they are an exciting team.
Yeah, they're definitely exciting. Ant is another guy in the playoffs that we've seen can really kind of turn it up and playoff version of him, quote unquote. Ultimately, I just don't think that they have the depth really to hang with the big dogs.
It's not good enough right now.
Not good enough right now. No. Ant will definitely get better. I think maybe next year you'll see. Hopefully, you'll see a step up.
You place another MVP bet on him.
Probably, probably. Him and Wemby are like my guys that for the next 5 years. One of them's gonna win an MVP probably.
For sure.
Okay, so from there we have another pretty big drop off. Games back from first place, we have a 5-game drop off. So we're now on teams that are under 500, to where the Timberwolves were 9 games over 500. So it's a pretty big drop off from here. These are kind of the play-in teams that are on the brink of making the playoffs. Haven't been able to fully tank. But are too good to not suck per se. The next team I got is the Kings. So the Kings are 35-36, 8th on offense, 22nd on defense. Obviously, they made a pretty big trade in the middle of the year, trading away De'Aaron Fox, getting Zach LaVine, not from the Spurs, but in a similar trade, or it might have been in a 3-team trade where they got Zach LaVine in that.
Yeah. I think it was a 3-team trade. Yeah, to me, I think they just lost the other night too. So another half game back out of there. They are just a collection of like a couple good dudes. Like, you look at DeRozan and Levine and Sabonis, they're like, yeah, they're good basketball players.
Right.
Like, they're good. But even that trio, even if you have a good supporting cast, no one stands out to me really and can carry them through anything. They're just kind of it just feels like these players are a bridge that leads nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't really know where they go from.
No, they're definitely one of those teams. Again, they're not. It's kind of like I think where the Steelers are right now.
Yeah,
they're not.
That's a good.
They're not
comparison.
They're not good enough to make any noise.
Yeah.
They're not bad enough to improve in the draft or anything like that.
Yep.
Sabonis is a legit, all-star level talent, but he's just not good enough to be the best player on a championship team. Levine, I don't think he's a winning player. He'll get you his 23 a night or whatever it is that he gets, but he's not a good defensive player, and neither is Levine. It's kind of the same thing ultimately, just all around, just not good enough to really compete with the big dogs. So, going kind of in a similar direction, probably the most disappointing season of any NBA team, I think. The Phoenix Suns. They are 35-37, 24 and a half games back from first, still even behind the Kings, at least when I was putting together this list Monday and Tuesday of this week.
Yeah.
7th on offense, 26th on defense. 7th on offense, you can kind of expect it with KD and Booker. Bradley Beal has been awful.
That was another just god-awful trade.
Terrible.
It doesn't make any sense.
Terrible.
Yeah, I know it as soon as I heard it come up. Like, dude, it doesn't make sense. He's older. He gets hurt. He doesn't play defense.
Yeah.
I don't know why this collection of guys you think you have are going to get you a far run in the playoffs. This doesn't make any sense. Probably
one of the worst contracts in the league right now. I don't have the exact numbers here. I could probably pull them up relatively quickly, but he's due for in the $30 to $40 million a year range. But he also has a no trade clause. So even if they were like, we're just gonna get off this contract, we're gonna get rid of this dude, send him to a bad team. I don't care if we get peas and carrots back for him. He has to approve of any trade. So you can't just send him anywhere. He has to literally approve of it. So he would rather sit and make $35 million, probably, nice life there in Phoenix.
And he doesn't play much because he's hurt.
Yeah.
And
it's just terrible trade.
I mean, you just said their defensive ranking.
26th.
I mean, yeah, when you come into the season, they're bad at defense last year too. Don't you think, if we're going to trade for somebody, we're going to get some pieces, like it would be on the defensive side of things. Maybe you grab a point guard because you don't even really have one. Post player, like anything other than another scoring guard. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, just not a good trade at all. If you catch them on the right night, you'll think maybe they're one of the best teams in the league, but they they're not very good. They're literally on the brink of missing the playoffs. In the play-in, with the play-in and how good Kevin Durant is playing right now, I think maybe they could maybe make the playoffs.
Sucks because Kevin Durant's playing so well.
Yeah, he's playing well. So
they play 9 of their last 10 games are versus opponents with a winning record.
Oh, okay.
So they have the toughest road to.
That's good.
Yeah.
I didn't have that note. That's good. And again, I think Kevin Durant is leaving this year. I think he'll be gone. So they'll look a lot different next year. The next team still in this same tier, play-in level team, the Mavericks. Their fans hate them. They're 35 and 37, 10th on offense, 20th on defense. The Luka trade, one of the worst trades in NBA history, if not the worst trade in NBA history.
Yeah.
I got an interesting conspiracy for you that I've heard, kind of in the circles with this new owner group. So Mark Cuban sold the team. I think it was January of 23. He put them for sale, and they just sold.
Mm-hmm.
The guys that own the team are big casino guys. They own casinos in Vegas. I think the main guy owns the Sands Hotel and Casino in Vegas.
Okay.
There's this theory or conspiracy, I guess I should say, that they are purposefully trying to make the fans hate them so that they can move the Mavericks to Vegas, because Vegas is almost certainly going to get an expansion team whenever that comes about in a couple years. It's going to be Vegas and Seattle, mark my words. Trying to make the fans hate them purposefully to be able to move the team to Vegas, and then essentially another team could come to Dallas. Essentially, the expansion team would come to Dallas, take the Mavericks name. It's a conspiracy.
That's a decent plan if that's their right plan.
Imagine being a Mavericks fan and thinking like, man, I got Luka for 20 years, 15 years. I have Luka. I can't wait. It's gonna be another Dirk. He likes being in the city, and then out of nowhere, they trade him for.
I mean, it's completely
nothing.
Bananas.
Really. For nothing, really.
Initially, like, I had the analysis of, maybe this is better for them this year in particular to try and win a title, just because AD is completely different than Luka, adds the defensive factor, blah, 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 whatever. Like, you have that analysis. But aside from, like, such a short-term thing, you look at that, like, that was the dumbest motherfucking thing I've ever seen in sports.
Stupid. And if you're going to trade him, shop him around. They didn't talk to anybody other than the Lakers.
Yep.
I heard a report that they reached out to the Timberwolves and said, are you interested in trading Anthony Edwards? And the Timberwolves like, no. But if the Timberwolves knew that it was for Luka, would they maybe consider it? No, probably not. Ant is their guy. But shop him around. Malik Bridges went for 5 first-round picks.
Oh, another god-awful trade that I hate, but yes.
And we'll get to the Knicks, but Malik Bridges went for 5 first-round picks. You got 1 pick in Anthony Davis for Luka. Like that.
Like 6 years older than him, more injury-prone.
Yeah, way more injury-prone. That's just really terrible trade. Kyrie's hurt. He's out towards ACL.
Yeah, that's sad, man, because Kyrie was turning into a guy that I really, really liked again, because he was my favorite player when he was first on the Cavs with that LeBron team. And, then he was young and just, like, did a lot of different things that I didn't really like. And he was being weird and unlikable. And now he's likable again.
He tore his ACL. And he's probably going to miss a big chunk. He'll probably won't be back until after the All-Star break next year, too, which just another stab in the heart for the Mavs fans. So this next tier, I have dubbed this tier Capture the Flag.
Like the lottery?
Trying to tank for Cooper Flag.
Oh, yeah, nice. There you
go. So teams that, they're not going to be in the playoffs. They're trying to be as bad as possible.
For sure.
Trying to give themselves a chance to get the number 1 pick to get Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
So the next team is the Portland Trail Blazers. They are 32-40, 22nd on offense, 16th on defense. These next few teams will kind of.
Yeah, the problem with them and the Spurs, which will be the next team you bring up, is they've kind of won too many games to where their percentage of getting the first pick is a little high, lower.
Especially once you start lumping in the teams in the East, too.
Yeah.
Scoot Henderson is starting to figure it out maybe a little bit. He was not great last year. He wasn't great at the start of this year. He shows flashes of like a Russell Westbrook type player. He's just not consistent. He's still young. He hasn't played, a lot of meaningful basketball. He was another G League guy. I think he can be a good player. Maybe not what you would hope the number 2 overall pick would be. I think that Shannon Sharp is their best guy, kind of the guy to build around. To me, I think that they're probably the most fun team to get Cooper Flag, and you're right. Their percentage, it would be a really long shot for them to get Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
But Cooper Flag would kind of slot in on this team really nicely. They have DeAndre Ayton. He's not that good, but he's a legit center at least.
Yeah. The backup is Klingman. They just drafted from UConn last year, who has that backup spot.
Yeah, Klingen's good. But with Scoot Henderson, Shannon Sharp, if you add Cooper Flag to that team, I think that would be a really fun team for Flag to go to.
Yeah, because some teams do this every year, and it's like they're just drafting. There's some cases, in the NFL, maybe it's better to do is like draft the best available.
Yeah.
In the NBA, I don't think that should be the case. To where like don't just draft guard after guard after guard after guard. I hate when teams do that.
It has to make sense to your team. Yeah.
And I feel like they've kind of done that. Like We got
if there's
those two you named, Anthony Simons.
Yeah.
And
if you're looking at your big board and there's, you have a guard rated at an A and the next guy is at a B, maybe it makes sense to take a guard. But if you have two guys that are relatively close, maybe you think the forward is going to be a little bit worse. You got to at least try to make a coherent team of young guys that can grow together and be all right.
You got to be able to build it.
Yeah.
You got to see it.
All right, so the next team is the Spurs, 31 and 39, 15th on offense, 25th on defense. Wemby's the GOAT. Wemby is so good, bro.
Yeah.
He is so good. He is so much fun to watch. He is by far, obviously, LeBron's my favorite player in the league. But as far as number 2 player, Wemby is. I love Wemby. I am so high on him. Just his defensive ability, just that, it puts him in the top 10. He's already a top 10 player in the league.
Yeah, I'd say so.
He is so good, and he's so much fun to watch. When you watch him play, he does something just about every game where you're like, I've never seen anybody do that.
Dude, so middle of the year, beginning of the year, obviously I said at the top of the show, like, no, I don't really watch basketball. I don't until about this time.
Yeah.
I started watching more. So I was at a bar, and one of my buddies was like, dude, check out these Wemby highlights. So he pulls up on his phone. I start watching him. It's incredible. Like, he's blocking everything in sight.
Yeah.
His just goes around people with ease, dunks on top of him, with barely jumping. He's knocking down threes. And I was like, that was incredible. He's like, dude, that was just last night's game.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? This is like all, like, season-long highlights.
And he's 21.
Yeah.
This is his second year in the league. Like, imagine him at 28. 7 years from now, he's definitely going to put on weight. He's not going to be.
I really hope so.
He's not going to be like
he's
Giannis.
not.
He's going to be like KD. I think he'll be KD size.
Yeah.
Yes, he'll the big guys like Embiid, which is literally like the only guy I think that can like really bully him. The big centers are going to bully him, but he's good enough to make up for it. He's long
Embiid
enough.
probably
He's
won't
tall
play
enough.
that day.
Yeah, right. They drafted Castle, Stephon Castle, I believe is his name.
Favorite for Rookie of the Year.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's a really good player.
Another dude, I think out of UConn. Another dude out of UConn.
Yeah. Wemby and De'Aaron Fox. They traded for De'Aaron Fox.
Right.
Another great trade, I think. De'Aaron Fox is kind of on the he's on the younger side. He's not.
I really like him.
He's not 22 like some of the guys on this team, but he's young enough to play with Wemby for a long time, and I like that they kind of got Wemby a point guard after Chris Paul. So both of those guys are out for the year, which they probably. I think personally that they had a little bit of health concern with Wemby, but realized that they probably weren't going to be in the playoffs, and if they were, they weren't going to make any noise in the playoffs. Let's sit him. Let's keep him healthy. Let's keep his legs fresh. See how bad we can get. This draft is really deep, so if you don't get the first pick, anywhere in the lottery, I think you're going to get.
Imagine like Cooper Flag.
Imagine. I would nut
insane,
if they got
dude.
Cooper Flag. Like that would
I'll
be.
put my money on him right away.
That would be insane if they got Cooper Flag. That would be like my dream team to get Cooper Flag. I think that you're right in saying that they've won too many games.
Right.
But yeah, they're exciting. Wemby's great. He'll be okay, and heading into next year they'll be okay. The next team, another really weird team, the Pelicans. They are 20 and 53, so they are
super irrelevant.
11 less wins than the Spurs. 25th on offense, 30th on defense, and if you know that the NBA has 30 teams in it, that's worst. They're the worst defensive team. Zion's played 30 games this year. The future is looking relatively bleak unless they can get a real draft pick.
Man, I wonder with Zion's health concerns, what's his market to be traded? I feel like at this point, trade him for like 4 first-round picks.
Not as good
Will
as it
you even
was.
get that? I have no idea.
It's not as good as it was. He'll definitely have, he would definitely have some demand. Because when he plays, he looks good. When he plays, he looks explosive. He looks dominant. You can tell, when he's out there, he's the most athletic guy that's on the floor. But the best ability is availability.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't play. He just doesn't play enough. So if you can maybe have the thought process of getting him in a different city. The Pelicans organization stinks. Like they're just a really bad, terribly ran organization. He's definitely on trade watch, I think. I would not be surprised at all if he got traded. So pretty disappointing season for them.
You know, you might be better off somewhere else. Yeah. Let's get what I can get for you. Let's part ways.
And then the next team, the last team in the West, I have the Jazz. They are 24th on offense, 29th on defense. The only note I have for them is capture the flag. They stink. They're bad. They're trying really hard to be bad.
I was on Lauri Markkanen like a couple years ago, and I thought he'd like be able to, grab them 35 wins, but they still really suck.
Yep, they're not good. They're gonna try to. They're gonna be bad for a while. They're gonna try to go the OKC route. Real chance, second worst record in the league. Real chance to get Cooper Flag. And if they don't get Cooper Flag, they get Ace Bailey or somebody like that. So.
Okay.
When I hear Josiah's throwing up on the pod, is he throwing up in there? Or is he
that was an outside one. Yeah. Or the really, really bad one was when we had it upstairs, and it was completely down the hall in the bathroom. That was one of the best ones. Dude, there's multiple videos. There's
a couple.
We have Hunter, like taking 2 minutes to try and gather himself and then spitting up on himself.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know if I've seen that.
Josiah's burped and spit up in that corner. Turvey and Josiah's have thrown up in that bathroom out there. Just the shotgun sometimes gets you.
A whole lot of pukey. All right. So into the East. I have broken the East down. Oh, God, how many tiers do I got here? I have the East in 6 different tiers.
Jesus.
The East is definitely a lot worse than the West.
Yeah.
The East is...
I'm about ready to pencil this in.
The East is very top-heavy. There's 2 teams. The Cavs and the Celtics are easily the top 2 teams. If those teams are not playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, something has went terribly wrong. I don't think the Knicks are a good team, but I don't think that the Knicks can compete. So let's get into the Cavs here.
Yeah.
I have this first tier is true finals contenders. The Cavs are 58-14, second best record in the NBA. First on offense, 7th on defense. They're looking good.
Yeah, they really are.
The Cavs are looking good, and I never would have thought post LeBron that the Cavs would have like a legit contender team at least this quickly. But they look good. Their chemistry is really good. They're another team. Them and OKC, I think, feels like the only 2 teams where like the chemistry is just off the charts. Like the chemistry is unreal. The guys look like they're really happy to play together and enjoy playing together. They're extremely well balanced. Good guard play, good center play. Another team that's very deep. Mitchell has felt like he's really bought in this year. Over the summer, he signed a 3-year, $150 million contract. So, it had always been kind of talked about. Cleveland was maybe not the team that he really wanted to be traded to. He was kind of a New York guy. He always seemed like he was going to go to the Knicks or the Nets or somebody like that. But with this contract, it seems like he's here. He's in Cleveland to stay, at least for a little bit, and you can tell that he's bought in way more than last year.
Yeah, I'm surprisingly impressed by them this year. I think every year for them was kind of like, maybe next year they'll be good enough. They'll be ready. They'll be experienced enough. But I think, that has to end now. I think they are ready now. Top to bottom roster is just like OKC's. I think it's completely built. It all works. Mobley and Allen are maybe the best big duo in the league. I think Garland, there's talks about him being traded mid-year, and he just completely turned it on, flipped a switch, and started going off. Like when they're sitting Mitchell, he completely goes off. Even with him in, they can both go for 25. He's flipped a switch this year. I think this is the year to do it. I don't see them slipping up until, I think they're fated to play Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Probably. So I do think that this is definitely one of the years that they have to make a run because
Yes.
I don't think that their window is really that big.
Neither do I.
With kind of the new way that the NBA salary cap is set up, you can't have 3 guys on your team that are max guys and have a deep team. If you have 3 guys, you know, the rest of your guys, you better hope that you hit on picks or something like that, you know, that guys are playing way better than their contracts would, you know, I guess typically state that they would play. Mobley, Garland, and Mitchell are all max level players. I don't know when the contracts start to come up when you have to start paying these guys, but the window is relatively small, at least with this core. I think Mitchell's there to stay, and I think Mobley's there to stay, and I think that that's probably why you hear Garland trade talks is because Mitchell's better than Garland, and I think Mobley, maybe him and Garland are a little bit interchangeable.
Yeah, I'd value Mobley over
because he's
Garland.
a big guy.
Yeah, and defensively he's great.
Yeah, top 3 defensive player in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mobley's definitely taken a level up this year. I have some numbers in here. He's taken way more threes per game this year at the same average. Well, I say way more. He's up from 1 to 3. But they needed him. They needed him to take 3-point shots and kind of clear out the paint a little bit. Him and Allen together on offense felt really redundant last year. They kind of got in each other's way some. So he's taken a level up.
I like it, dude. I like their team right now.
They look good. I think you're going to see Garland get exposed in the playoffs. He's going to get picked on defense. He's going to get picked on a lot, and I think that might lead them to, hopefully not this summer, but at some point I do think that they're going to move off of him. And I think that this will be the playoffs where you see it a lot. A deep playoff run. The next team we're going to talk about, the Celtics, they literally all season, when you watch them play, that is all that they do, is they almost spend too much time. It's almost frustrating how much time they spend trying to pick on the worst player on defense on the other team. But they're going to, you know, in a 5-minute stretch, every single possession, Jason Tatum is going to be switching, Jaylen Brown's going to be switching with somebody, and they're going to try to get Darius Garland on them, and they're just going to pick on him. The team's really deep, though. They got good guys. My only concern is they're a little bit in the lack of experience conversation. Mitchell's great. Mitchell's, you know, he's had his playoff runs.
Yeah, going back to Utah, he was taking that team in deeper runs.
Yep. But some of the guys, DeAndre Hunter, Ty Jerome, you know, they're big bench guys that, you know, try to help them out in games. They lack the big game experience.
Yeah.
I was watching who was it? Orlando versus the Cavs a couple weeks ago.
Was it on a Sunday?
I don't know what day of the week it was.
Because I watched them play on a Sunday a couple weeks ago.
That might have been this game. It was coming down to it at the end of the game, and DeAndre Hunter had a big 3 in the corner to, you know, that he needed to hit, and he hit the side of the backboard. It was, you know, it was not a playoff game, but it was a big moment in a relatively big game. So that's my only concern, but I'm kind of nitpicking at that point. Mobley, Mitchell, Garland. I think that they're definitely going to get them to the Western or to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'd be very surprised if they didn't. Next team, number 2 team in the East, Celtics. They are 53-19, second on offense, 5th on defense this year. They have been my pick to win the finals all year, and I still think that they are my pick. Tatum he's really playing on a different level. He's a corny ass dude, and he gets a lot of hate for that.
Does he receive a lot of hate for being corny?
Yeah. Like his,
I didn't really.
He tries like really hard to like. There was after they won the title last year, he was like hugging the trophy, like similar to like how Kobe was hugging the trophy.
I've seen that.
After right after the game, he said he had like a Kevin Garnett, like when Kevin Garnett's like nothing's impossible. He's like, what are they gonna say now, or something like that. So like
I didn't realize he got like so much backlash.
He gets hate for being a little bit of a corny dude. But he's a top 5 player in the league easily. He's the only player in the league I think that that I watch. Maybe LeBron is another guy, but LeBron on defense isn't at the level that Tatum is. Tatum plays point forward for the team. He brings the ball up 80% of the time. And they have good guards. And then you'll watch him on defense, and he'll be guarding the center, he'll be guarding the point guard. He guards all 5 positions on defense and at an elite level.
He is big, athletic.
He's good. He's
agile, strong. He's really, like, if you're building a player, that might be the exact build type that you want.
Yeah, he's really good. The team has incredible depth. They have the elite level defense on their guards to keep up with Mitchell and Garland.
Really good.
And that's outside of Jaylen Brown and Tatum. Derek White will be able to keep up with Mitchell and Garland. Drew Holiday he's getting older, but has always been looked at probably as the best wing defender in the league.
Yeah.
Again, he's getting older, and you can tell that he's slowing down a little bit, but maybe in the playoffs he'll ramp it up a little bit. So the Celtics are good. The Celtics are great.
Loved when they added Kristaps a couple years ago. Yeah. That's a great piece for them that will match up well with a long Mobley or long.
Yeah. Yeah, when KP's healthy, they're really good. He's only played 36 games this year, but he started to kind of pick it up in the last couple weeks and get in the swing of it. Derek White's really good. You don't hear about him a lot, but he's another guy that could easily get 20 a game for them. So they're deep. They are, again, like I said, my pick to win the finals. It's really hard to go back-to-back.
I'm penciling them in for the Eastern Conference Finals, and if right now I'd pick Boston, they'd be my pick to win that the East side.
Yeah. So the next tier, I have the Knicks, and I have the Knicks in a tier of their own.
What is that?
Because they're a great team. They could make the Eastern Conference Finals if they play a really great series, but they're ultimately not in that tier one. They're not the Cavs, they're not the Celtics, but they are a great team. So the Knicks are 45-26, 5th on offense, 13th on defense. Towns was a great addition. Obviously we've
liked
kind of
that
hit
for
on
their
that a
side
little
of
bit.
things.
Yeah, he's really kind of buying into the Knicks culture, and seems to be enjoying his time in New York. Tibbs is a good coach, but I think that he's running the team into the ground a little bit. Have you seen the?
Oh, literally.
Have you seen the TikTok that was going around a couple? I guess it was maybe before the All-Star break. Yeah, there was a TikTok that was going around before the All-Star break. The top 7 trios in the league with the most minutes played together. Mm-hmm. So we'll say, for an example, Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves played the most minutes together, in top 7. They weren't in the top 7. The top 7 was completely put together of Knicks trios. Like any combination of their starting 5 playing together, their starting 5 averages 35 minutes per game. All 5 of them average 35 minutes per game. The Cavs don't have a single player over 31 minutes per game. Now, the Cavs are a little bit of a different situation where they're up in the third quarter, don't have to play guys in the fourth. But the Knicks Tibbs is known for this, just running their guys into the ground, and you're starting to see it with Brunson being hurt right now.
Yeah.
They have a lot of good players, but can't really seem to use them effectively. They have Mikal Bridges, and he's kind of standing off to the side.
Don't agree with that trade either. They gave up a lot just to get him, and it's just someone can play that role other than him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they didn't have to trade 5 first-round picks for him. Ultimately, they're a great team, but they're just not one of the best 2 teams in the East.
For sure.
Ultimately, they're going to run into either the Celtics or the Cavs, and I don't think that they can beat either of them in a 7-game series. Can they take it 6 or 7 games? Probably. They won't have home court advantage. I just ultimately just don't. They're just not one of the best teams, but they're
good enough right now. They could be. I can see them just like Houston getting bounced in the first round. Right now, if they play Detroit, I think it looks like. I think Detroit can beat them. If it switches up, they could play Orlando, Atlanta, somebody like that. I think they can lose to any of those teams.
Yeah, they're not going to run them out of the gym. They're not going to sweep them or anything like that. But I think I'm right in having them as in a tier of their own, because they're definitely better than the next team, the first team in tier 3.
I don't even know who you're going to say. I'm going to disagree with it, but yeah, go ahead.
The Pacers.
Okay, I disagree with that, but yeah.
You think that the the Pacers could make a real hang with the Knicks.
Hey, if they're playing
in a
straight up
7-game series.
in a 7-game series, I would take the Pacers.
Oh wow. I would not. The Pacers are a good team. So we'll get into the Pacers. 42-29. My first team in my third tier. 9th on offense, 15th on defense. Fastest pace in the league. So that would be one thing that sets them aside from other teams. And they played the Lakers a couple nights ago and kind of ran the Lakers out of the gym a little bit. They're very run and gun.
Yeah.
They just go. Relatively young team. I don't have a ton for the Pacers. Relatively young team. Still have some guys that I think need to kind of take the next step for them to be real contenders. Halliburton is really good. I just don't think that they don't have anybody on their team that I think can be the best player on a championship-winning team. But I ultimately don't think that that's kind of the mindset that they're in right now is winning championships. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think they're a contender at all. I just think the way their team's built, I think it's good for them. They run, and Halliburton's been playing better. He's a great facilitator and can shoot the ball. Siakam was a great addition. I think it was last year they added him. He's a good basketball player.
He's good.
And they have small pieces around that. Their team it's built pretty good.
Yeah.
But like I think they can win one series.
Yeah, and
that's it.
Making it past the second round for them, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals would be that would be very overachieving for them.
Yeah.
So first round win, not getting bounced in the first round ultimately should be their goal. The next team was I don't know if with not keeping up, this next team might have been a little bit of a surprise to you. The Pistons are I have as they're the fifth best team in the East. They are 41-32, 14th best offense, 9th best defense. Cade Cunningham is really what the story of the season is. He's really leveled up this year.
It's nice, dude. And I knew he was that great all-around scoring guard, but I saw he had 9 assists a game.
Yeah,
and I was
he's
what
kind of
the
their facilitator
hell?
too.
So that was surprising to me. I think, you're right. The record is surprising. I think that they've drafted well since Cade.
Yep.
They got Cade, Jaden
Ivey,
which was from Purdue, and I remember this so perfectly because I had him winning the bracket because he was with Edey and some other guy, and I thought they were going to win it all, and they blew it way early.
Yeah.
But Ivey's a great scorer. He's been out, though.
Yeah, he's been in and out of the lineup. I don't know if he's currently playing right now. I don't think so. I think he's maybe out for the year.
I think they're evaluating him.
Jalen Duren is their center. He's very good. He played for Memphis, and he was solid. He's a decent big guy. And then Malik Beasley has been a big surprise.
Beasley.
He was on the Lakers a couple years ago, and then they traded him. I can't remember where he went after that. I think the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
He's been shooting the lights out.
He's a good shooter.
Literally like Klay Thompson type numbers when Thompson was on the Warriors. So he's been great. They're a fun, exciting team. Their future is bright, I think. J.D. Bickerstaff was a great coaching pickup for them. He coached the Cavs. I think he was the coach of the Cavs last year.
Yeah, he was. And then just moved on from him because he was a stale mate.
Much better than Monty Williams, who they had before, who is barely even a real coach. But J.D. Bickerstaff is a great coach for them.
We got the Thompson brother, who's all right.
Yeah, he's fine.
I just saw Marcus Sasser put up 20-something points the other night because Cade was out and Ivy has been out. But, that's another guy they didn't draft him in 23, but they traded for him on draft day in 23. But they got him with the Thompson brother in that same year. And I like that draft pick because I think there's potential there, and he kind of just showed it right there. If they can build with him, they've got some guards who are very good.
I think that their timeline is just years out. I think that their hope is their Celtics window starts to close after maybe 2 years from now or something like that. And then they can kind of, slot in there somewhere. But they're just not ready, I don't think, to make the Eastern Conference Finals right now. Not really deep enough to.
You'd say that they need something else.
They need,
Cade's a star in my eyes.
They need one more guy, though.
But I think they need someone else to actually get them in that contender category.
They need one more guy, or they need a guy to step up. They need Ivy to be kind of the player that they were hoping that he would be, kind of the player that he was in college. He was a great player in college, explosive, like John Morant, Russell Westbrook type guy. But he's still young. You know, you see it a lot in the NBA where these guys come out after a year or something like that. And Cade is literally a perfect example, coming out after a year. It takes them a couple years to figure out the NBA game and really get their feet under them. So I think their future is bright. Definitely a shock if you haven't paid attention to the season and you're like, what the hell? The Pistons are up there. Because they've been, perennially like one of the worst teams in the league. So.
Big flip for them. That's good. The team you're about to say next is also a big shock to me in a bad way. If you're not really paying attention.
Okay.
Are you going to say the Bucks?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is actually the start of my next tier 4. Dealing with some injuries pretty easily. Could probably get bounced in the first round. Another one of those teams where this tier of teams not good enough to make any noise this season, but not bad enough to really improve in the draft. The Bucks. Yeah, the Bucks have not been very good. Obviously, they traded for Damian Lillard. They are 40-31 this year. 13th offense, 10th defense, which those numbers would almost speak otherwise. Like, they are one of the better teams in the league. They're kind of right in there, like pretty even with like the Lakers type range. Giannis is still a great player. Dame's just not what he was.
Yeah, I think it's just so weird to me because when you look at the Bucks, you're like thinking I have Giannis and Dame, so I always have a chance to beat anyone. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking that the entire year. I bet on them several times against teams because I look at the point spread and I'm like they're underdogs or they're only favored by this much. And I check to see if both of them are playing, and they are, and they lose me money all the time because they just underperform.
Yeah.
And they'll get their individual numbers, and Dame's been playing better. He's been scoring a bit, but they have not been winning games. I mean, how does the Milwaukee Bucks have 18 less wins than the Cavs? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
So they're just –
I don't know if it's depth. I don't know if it's coaching. Giannis and Dame really haven't seemed to figure out how to play together. You would think that because Dame's a good passer, you'd think that their pick and roll was really good or something along those lines. It's just pretty meh.
I don't know.
When you watch them, it's pretty meh.
Yeah.
They're just not very deep either. They have
Giannis is top 3 best player in the league.
Yeah.
When you have that, you would think regardless you're going to be a contender.
Yeah.
And this year I just label them as not. They're not.
And I don't think that Dame's not going to get any better.
No.
He's old. He's getting up there. So part of me is, and I don't think it'll be this summer, part of me wonders if Giannis is starting to be like, all right, get me out of here. Like I don't really want to be here. Maybe a Lakers type deal after LeBron retires. The Heat maybe could make a run at Giannis.
I was talking about that a couple years ago, and then he signed that big deal.
Yeah.
It had been a few years ago.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago now. An interesting team that would have to really kind of shake up their landscape, but they have the picks to be able to do it, and they have the players to be able to do it. What if OKC just decided, we'll give you 6 first-round picks, and we'll give you Chet for Giannis? Why wouldn't the Bucks
I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Why wouldn't the Bucks do that?
Yeah.
And OKC would be filthy.
Do it in a heartbeat.
If the money made sense, if Chet for Giannis straight up, the money doesn't make sense. So, obviously there'd have to be other pieces in there, but something interesting. I don't think Giannis is going to retire a one-team guy. I think that he's maybe on his way out in a couple years. So, next tier, this could, I guess, be interchangeable, either the Hawks or the Magic. I have it down as the Hawks. So the Hawks are 35-37, so we're now below 500. I apologize.
Area.
I said next tier. This is not the next tier. This is the same tier.
Okay.
And also Dame got announced. He's out for the season. That got announced this morning.
Calf.
Blood clot concerns or something like that.
Blood
I don't know.
clot in his calf or something.
Something like that.
Forgot about that.
Dame's out for the year. But the next team, the Hawks, The Hawks are 20th on offense, 16th on defense. They, like I said, 35 and 37. The Hawks had the number 1 pick last year. Do you know who the number 1 pick was? Do you know what his name is?
Is it that Zachariah Rassar or some shit?
Yeah, Ristache. French. It's a French name. But yeah, he was the number 1 pick last year, and it was kind of a draft where it was like it could be any of 6 guys, and I think if you did a redraft, it would either be him or Castle for the Spurs. But he's been solid. He's just not flashy. He's a Chris Middleton type guy. He's pretty athletic. He's a good scorer. He's actually a pretty good complement to Trae Young.
Okay.
So
I mean, I definitely haven't watched any Atlanta Hawks basketball.
Yeah.
And they're so boring to me. To me, it's like Trae Young and his like backup singers and friends.
Yeah, kind of a little bit.
Like Trae Young can go off for 40 one time here and there.
He's still good. He's an elite level shooter. Another name that's a really interesting name. Dyson Daniels.
I've seen him this year.
He's unreal.
He's a rookie, right? Or second year?
He's second or third year. He's young though.
Okay, who is the guy? So there's a guy playing in front of him, like maybe.
So Dyson Daniels was on the Pelicans, and it was when the Pelicans had DeJounte Murray.
Jalen Johnson is who I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay.
The other power forward for the Hawks. Is that his name?
I don't know.
Shit.
I'm blanking.
All right, hold on. I gotta look at this now.
But Dyson Daniels is one of, if not the best on-ball defender in the league right now.
Oh, okay.
He's been great, and he's been a really good pickup to put next to Trae because Trae has been. It's been the last couple of years either him and Luka, the worst defensive player in the league. Trae's just little. He just gets picked on defense. But I think ultimately they'll make the playoffs, and I think that they'll be a pretty easy bounce in the playoffs. They still just need an elite guy to take pressure off Trae in the playoffs. They need Ristache to really level up in the next couple of years and be an elite level scorer, kind of in tandem to Young if Young stays.
I mean,
there,
if they just keep staying with this and drafting like subpar dudes, I mean, they'll always be right here. I don't see anything special happen from this team. Okay, so Dyson Daniels, I'm just getting him confused with Jalen Johnson on their team just because of the DD and JJ of their names, I guess. But Jalen Johnson is a forward who got hurt earlier in the year, which I thought was a pretty good piece of their team.
Okay.
He just hasn't played in a while.
So the next team, the Orlando Magic, and they are 35 and 38, and these offensive and defensive numbers are going to shock you. 28th on offense, so second to last in the league on offense. Second on defense. They're the second best defensive team in the league. Huh. They're a really weird watch, being like one of the worst offenses, but one of the best defenses. They've just been really hurt all year. They have 3 really good guys on their team: Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Jalen Suggs. And I think all of those guys can be 1, 2, and 3 on a championship-winning team when they're healthy. But they have all missed significant time at different points of the year. So Paolo got hurt with an oblique injury at the beginning of the year. He was out for 6 to 8 weeks, let's say.
A long time.
And then like 4 weeks in, Franz Wagner got hurt with the exact same injury, and then he was out for 6 to 8 weeks. And then 4 weeks into that, Jalen Suggs gets hurt, and he's now out for the year. So they've just been hit with the health bug. Elite level defense, obviously, but the offense is just really sloppy. They're the worst 3-point percentage in the league, and they can't hit the broadside of a barn when you're watching them try to shoot threes.
Insane that they have that good of a defense.
Yeah.
And they're interchanging stars being in and out. I didn't know Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner. Is that his name?
It's Wagner.
Wagner. Was out as well. I didn't know Jalen Suggs was out for the year.
Yeah.
I've been watching Orlando Magic basketball, but Paolo's only played 38 games, so I was like, okay, that's why they have a bad record.
Yeah. And those 3 guys are really good. Paolo is a bona fide. He can be a number 1 on a team, and Franz Wagner is a bona fide number 2 on a team. Jalen Suggs has been great, similar to let's say like a Drew Holiday, elite level on-ball defense.
Okay.
He can get you some buckets on the offensive side, but I think next year will look very different from this year. I
Yeah,
think next
it's
year
a
they
lot
have
of
a
the key
legit
injuries.
I think next year they have a legit chance to be a top 4 team in the East. I think that they just dealing
That's
with
where I
injuries
thought
this
they'd
year.
be. I really
Yeah.
like Paolo. I think he's
They're good.
super talented.
I think that they're actually a pretty good team. Again, just the injury bug really hurt them this year. So
It wouldn't, dude. I would love if they could get the 7 seed and somehow take out Boston, so
That'd
the
be
Cavs
interesting.
have a clear path.
that would be interesting. They're gonna put up a fight with somebody, just based off how good they are on defense.
Yeah.
So next team is the Bulls. The Bulls are 19th on offense, 21st on defense. Really guard-heavy team. They are like my perfect example of the Steelers team of the NBA. They cannot seem to be bad enough to get a high enough pick to really improve in the draft, but they're always in like that 8 games under 500, 2 games over 500, like
Yeah.
8th, 9th, 10th seed. Like they're always in that range year after year after year.
Yeah, they've just had a collection of a bunch of good guards.
Really weird team. Another one.
And nothing built like an NBA team should be to win enough games,
Yeah.
so they're just right there in
Yeah.
that middle pack.
Their lineup this year has been all over the place. They only have 3 guys that have started 35 games for them, which is not a lot. I mean, they
Yeah.
have 3 of their players have started half of their games for them. So their lineup every night is something different. Young, no real star. I don't really know what the future looks like for them. They hope that one of these guards are going to be great, which I don't think any of them are.
Does anyone value Chicago like they used to go there? Like I don't think so right now.
I don't think so. They drafted a guy last year, Matthias, something like that. I don't know, 9th, 10th
no idea.
overall, something like that. And he's at the end of this year has started to show some flashes where he looks pretty good. But I don't know. It's a weird team. I don't really know what the future's looking like for them. Probably just gonna be in that middle purgatory for a while.
I don't know. Irrelevant to me.
Yeah. We're kind of getting to that point in the East now where it's like all of these teams are pretty sad.
Yeah.
None of them are really that good. So we're starting a new tier here, tier 5. Weird futures. No really glaring moves for these teams unless they get lucky in the draft. The next team is the Miami Heat, 31-41, 22nd on offense, 12th on defense. Obviously, they traded away Jimmy Butler this year.
Yeah.
Bam's taken a step back. Tyler Hero has taken a step up. But ultimately, I don't know what they're going to do. You know, they hope for a lucky draw in the lottery is really what it is. Or that they hit on a guy, in that 10, 11, 12 range.
They've got both those guys. They have Wiggins, who kind of makes like a good trio to where they'll be right there in the middle. Like they probably move on from Wiggins. Bam's at the tail end. Like he can still put up numbers, but he's not going to impact your team to where you're going to win a lot of games.
Spoelstra is a great coach. Kind of their next thing is they hope for an unhappy star to want to go to Miami.
Yeah.
They're probably happy that they didn't trade for Dame. They were like the number 2 team to trade for Dame. But, ultimately just a team that kind of hopes that they get lucky in the lottery. The next team is the Raptors. They are 25-47.
Oof.
Yeah, really bad. 26 on offense, 19th on defense, and they're pretty locked in to their guys. If you don't pay attention, you don't know this, but they are paying unreal money to Scotty Barnes. They now have Brandon Ingram, Emmanuel Quickley, and R.J. Barrett, who those guys are not championship-level players.
No.
They're due next year. Those 4 guys are due combined $135 million of the $158 million cap. Now, obviously,
not much else
there's a luxury tax and things like that you can dip into, but they are committed to, $20-30 million a year to some of these guys, and I think Quickly is like $32 million a year, and he is not a $32 million a year player. Who the hell were they bidding against to sign him at $32 million a year?
I would have gone into this saying I liked Quickly. I think he's a good player, but the fact that now like his contract now that I hear his contract, what it probably is like, why would you pay that for him?
He's not $32 million a year
right,
good.
Right.
You hope that Scotty Barnes takes a step up. You hope that Brandon Ingram can stay healthy and be a good scorer.
Yeah, none of these guys are changing your team.
You're hoping for good health luck next year and for these guys to maybe take a little bit of a level up and play well together.
They can just continue to live off that title they won against the Warriors. That's forever good.
Another team, they kind of hope that they get lucky in the draft. The next team, probably I said the Suns were the most disappointing team. This is probably the second most disappointing team.
Yeah, I'd rank them number 1.
You would?
Yeah.
The 76ers, 23-49, 21st on offense, 27 on defense. Embiid's situation is really, really bad. They paid him a year early. They didn't have to pay him coming into this year. After this year would have been the year where he would have really been looking for a contract, and they probably wish that they would have waited.
Yeah, this is why NFL teams don't pay these players.
Yeah. Embiid next year is due $55 million. The year after that, in 2027, he's due $60, and then 2028 he's due $67 million.
Dude.
Terrible contract, really bad.
I think Embiid is broken, and I don't think he'll ever be fixed.
I don't even know if he'll be in the league then. He's already first day of the year he said he's not playing back-to-backs. His health is just terrible. He's just a big guy. He's always had health issues. He missed multiple seasons because of it. I think his games played to games missed is starting to be like 50-50. Like 450 games played, 450 games missed. They got blessed with Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
They drafted Maxey 21st overall. They got blessed with him. Hoping for probably another good draw in the draft, because if they don't, if their pick is lower than 7, do you know who gets their pick? Or I guess lower than 6, 7 or lower. Do you know who gets their pick? OKC. Yeah, really tough situation for them. They hope to God that they have a top 6 pick. Next tier, same tier as the end of the West. Capture the flag sweepstakes. The Nets, they are 23-49, 27th on offense.
Same chance as 76ers right now to get them.
Yeah. 27 on offense, 18th on defense. Decent scorers: D'Lo, Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton is a decent player. Another team that hasn't had a consistent rotation. 14 guys on their team are averaging 20-plus minutes per game, which is very odd. Credit some of those guys have been traded. 17 guys on their team have played 20-plus games for them, or 17 guys this season have played 20-plus games for them. So their lineup has been all over the place. They've traded guys. Guys have gotten hurt. They release guys, sign new ones. They're 2-14 in their last 16, but had a stretch in February that really hurt them in terms of draft hopes, where they went 7-2, and 7 wins doesn't sound like a lot of wins, but that's 30% of their wins in 9 games. So that sucks for them, because they would have much better odds. But 5th worst record in the league. A good pick would really do them well. If they got a Cooper Flag level guy, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, those type of guys, that would be big for them. Any comments on the Nets? Probably not.
No, you can move on.
Yeah. Next team, we're down to our last 2 teams here. The Hornets, 18-54, 29th on offense, 24th on defense. Another team with a lot of rotations, different rotations this year. But I actually think that they're maybe a decent team. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. Melo hasn't played a lot of games. Brandon Miller hasn't played a lot of games. Mark Williams obviously got traded midway through the season, but he's pretty good. He's missed some games, traded, and then I guess got sent back.
Yeah.
I think that if they got even a top 5 pick and healthy, I think that they're going to be a sneaky good team next year. I'm not saying top 4 in the East, but definitely like a playoff team, I would think. Melo and Brandon Miller are pretty good players, and then if you add another guy to that, I think that they'll be solid.
All right. I mean, if you think that, then maybe look at their wins total next year, because the 10 seed is 31 wins right now. I'm guessing their win total probably going to be placed under that.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
So maybe bet the over on Hornets.
Yeah, if they're in the 20 range, I think that they win 30 games next year. The Wizards, 30th on offense, worst offense in the league, 28th on defense, third worst defense in the league. These guys stink.
They're awful.
Yeah, they're really bad. They're hoping for Cooper Flag. They have the worst record in the league. So,
boy, Cooper.
That's it.
He's gonna go to the Washington
That's 30
Wizards.
teams, 2 conferences.
Yes.
The state
been a
of
long
the
one.
NBA, alternate leagues, ratings. Hey, if you like the NBA, you guys haven't talked about NBA all year. This is your preview to the NBA before the playoffs start in a couple weeks.
You don't have to watch any NBA. We'll just do this.
Just listen to
NBA
us.
summary every single year.
Just listen to us. We got you updated before the playoffs here. My finals pick, Celtics versus OKC. I have Celtics beating OKC. I just think that they're due to repeat. Tatum and Brown together, the depth, the guard depth, things like that. I think that the Celtics will get it done. That's my pick.
If I had to pick right now without picking coming into this, I'm going to go Celtics win the East, Lakers win the West,
Ooh.
and I don't know who I pick, but those would be my winners right there.
I hope the Lakers win the West.
And that'd be a legendary matchup, Boston, LA.
Talking about the man on the Lakers, LeBron.
All right, appreciate it.
Cheers.
We'll be back next week for next pod for NFL, free agency, all that stuff. But appreciate listening, guys. Cheers.